What is up, everybody? Welcome to D-Night Sports Talk. And on this beautiful December 30th, 2021, I'd like to say happy birthday to LeBron James. So let's kind of just dive on into LeBron James. And I want to talk about his legacy because I've heard a lot of talk about people saying that what he is doing right now with the Lakers is diminishing his legacy. Absolutely not. Don't want to bring Jordan into this conversation at all. But when you're talking about one GOAT, you got to talk about the other. Nobody ever brings up anything Jordan did in Washington. Just doesn't come up. If you ask MJ fans, they're just like, oh yeah, that just those years never even happened. Just they didn't happen. Doesn't count against them. Which I'm not saying like we can't not count those years against Jordan. We can't not count these years against LeBron. But if we're looking at LeBron's numbers, okay, points per game, he's averaging 28 points per game this year. Throughout his career, he averages 27. So that's pretty good. His rebounds, averaging 7.2 this year. Throughout his career, he's averaged 7.4. His assists is down a little bit too. He's averaging 6.8%. 6.8 assists per game. Sorry about that. And throughout his career, it's been 7.4. And some of that's just the team he has around him. Not a great team that LeBron has around him at this point of his career, if we're being honest. I mean, like, yeah, they're all big name guys, but how many wide open shots does Russ miss, you know? Field goal percentage, 52% this year. And on his career, he's 50.4, so that's up. His three-point shooting, 36.9 this year, 34.6 for his career, so that's up. His free throw shooting, that a lot of people like to knock LeBron for, is how bad he is from the line. Well, he's 78.1% this year, and he's 73.4 for his career. So his free throw shooting significantly up this year. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at LeBron's numbers this year, yeah, he's still LeBron James. He's still being great, exceeding what he's done for most of his career in most categories. I mean, there's not really too much you can ask this man. He's basically 100 years old now, still in the league, and just out there absolutely killing it. Like, yeah, the Lakers having a terrible season, but when you have LeBron James on your team, probably making the playoffs, and if I'm anybody else in the NBA, I'm not wanting to face LeBron James in the playoffs, especially not the first round. Yes, I understood they got bounced the first round last year. A lot of people want to hold that over LeBron's head, but how many times did Jordan get bounced in the playoffs? Yeah, a lot. It's kind of like everybody's knock on Aaron Rodgers, per se, is, oh, well, he gets bounced in the conference championship almost every single year. Like, that's a bad thing? Like, yeah, he gets his team there almost every single year, it feels like. And we want to diminish him because he's getting his guys there, or like LeBron's final record. It's like, you want to diminish this man because he constantly is getting his team to the finals. It's not like he gets bounced in the first round every year. They're not making the playoffs. Like, it's LeBron James. His teams always make the playoffs. Most of the time, yeah, they're making the finals. And if they lose, they lose. I mean, you want to put that 2009 loss on LeBron. He carried that team there. And yeah, they got stomped by a Spurs team. But that Spurs team is possibly like one of the top 5 greatest teams of all time. Oh, well, what about all those years when he was in Cleveland, had to face Golden State, and he had Kyrie and Kevin Love? It's like, yeah, that Golden State team, probably number 2 team of all time. And then when they got KD, then they were the number 1 team of all time. So I don't feel like we can knock LeBron for the current situation the Lakers are in. I feel like eventually they're going to pull it out. It's LeBron James. He's about the one guy in the league where it's like, oh, if I'm betting on an individual player or team, and with LeBron James, I'm taking that team over the field. You know, it's kind of like how it was when Brady was in New England, where it's like, okay, if I have to choose one team who's going to go to the Super Bowl and win this year, it's probably going to be Brady and the Patriots. And that's just kind of how LeBron's always been. I mean, he is the most dominant NBA player we have ever seen. Yes, I understand Jordan went 6 for 6 in the finals, but do you not understand the team and the other players that were in the league at that time? Like, Jordan was around for 2 expansion eras, and he kept going back to a super stacked team. I mean, Steve Kerr is like the only one of the very select few people who could actually shoot threes, and he was on that team. But not even going into that. So that's kind of just what I wanted to say about LeBron James. I mean, I feel like anything he does at this point is just icing on the cake. You can't ask him to do much more from a legacy standpoint. My opinion, I think he is one. And if you are doing an all-time NBA list, if you don't have LeBron James 1 or 2, to be honest with you, you're just ignorant at this point. I mean, you can have MJ 1. Not going to go into that today. Too many people discuss that, and maybe later show I would give that once the time comes. But that's not for me to debate, and I'm going to stay out of that one. So that's what I got for LeBron James. Just wanted to say happy birthday to LeBron and kind of show some support for him. Now, moving on to the NFL, Week 17. No Thursday night games this week because of the New Year's and all that good stuff. So, moving on to Sunday, we have the Chiefs versus the Bengals. One of my favorite games I think I'm going to be watching this week. Both these teams are rolling right now. And I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City. Their defense is just playing way too well right now. And that Bengals defense has been hit or miss a lot of the season. But I'm going to say it's probably going to be a close game. Probably only, 7-point game. So that's only a touchdown. Giving it to the Chiefs. And then we have the Giants versus the Bears, which nobody probably cares too much about. But we're going to cover it. I'm going to have the Bears beating the Giants. Skeptical about Danny Dimes coming back. And who knows what Chicago's going to do, if they're going to try to play Fields or not. I feel like they will play Fields, let him get some confidence under him, beat up on those bad teams, and closing out this season. And then moving to Philly versus Washington. And Washington is dead in the toilet after that spanking they were received on Sunday night, from Dallas. They are probably just ready for this season to be over. Their defense has been decimated. Their offense is not looking too great right now either. So I'm going to go with Philly on this one for them to keep rolling, staying in the playoffs, trying to stay alive. And then we have the Rams at Baltimore. I think this is going to be a very good game, and I'm going to give the win to Baltimore because they're going to have Lamar Jackson back, and they need these wins right now. They are on the outside looking in the playoffs, and the Rams are a little bit comfortable. I mean, they don't necessarily need to win out to make the playoffs. And if you're the Ravens, that's their mindset right now. Is, hey, we have to win these next 2 games if we're going to make these playoffs. So they're going to come out and they're going to give it everything they have to beat this Rams team. And I think they're going to be able to pull it off. And then we have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers going to the Jets. And all Tom Brady does is beat up on the Jets. But I think they're going to kind of keep that run game going that they had last week to show on tape, like, hey, we don't have playoff Lenny anymore, but we're still going to be pounding this rock on the ground. We're still going to be running this ball. That way, when they're in the playoffs, people aren't just going, cover too deep and just trying to protect the pass the whole time. I think they're going to keep that run game going and run all over the New York Jets. Moving forward to the Raiders at the Colts. And I'm going with the Colts. They're just too hot right now. They're still hoping that they can take that number 1 seed in their division from the Tennessee Titans. So going with the Colts on this one. Probably riding Jonathan Taylor's back. Just running all over that Vegas Raiders defense. Then we have Jacksonville at the Patriots. And I think this is going to be a big game for Mac Jones. I feel like they've been running the ball a lot lately. Haven't really let Mac Jones loose. And I feel like they want Mac Jones to gain some confidence going into this playoff stretch. So they're going to be throwing the ball heavy. And I think the Patriots are going to win pretty easily at home against the Duval Jacksonville Jaguars. Going forward to the Falcons and the Bills. The Bills currently have the number 1 seed in the AFC North. Is that the division? Or AFC East? Sorry, AFC East. And they are going to want to keep that, so they're going to try to do everything in their power to beat up on these Atlanta Falcons so they can keep that number 1 seed. Looking at the schedule, they probably are assuming that the Patriots are going to smash the Jaguars as well. So, Buffalo, I got them slaughtering the Falcons at home. Then we have the Miami Dolphins, who are a hot team right now, facing the Tennessee Titans. And as much as I want to give the Tennessee Titans this win, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they're just hot right now. And that'll be a good game to watch, I think. I don't think it's going to be the most high-scoring affair, very defensive side of the ball game. I'm going to go with Miami in a close one. Moving on to the Houston Texans and the San Francisco 49ers. And the Niners need to bounce back after that loss they had last week to Tennessee. So they're going to be looking to roll these Houston Texans, staying in that playoff spot, not dipping out, not trying to fight their way back in Week 18, trying to keep that lead right now, going with the Niners. And then we have the Broncos and the Chargers. Chargers currently in the playoffs. Broncos are out. Chargers got beat up last week by the Houston Texans. I think they are going to come back this week with a vengeance and completely destroy the Denver Broncos. So I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers. Moving on to Carolina and the Saints. Going with the Saints at home. Tough place to play. This is Buzz. Tough place to play in New Orleans. They're going to probably just be really hard on the defense. I do believe Carolina is going to be starting Sam Darnold. Like I've said many times before, I think you need to bring Cam Newton in on the goal line stuff and let him do a lot of the goal line stuff. Great in the RPOs. He can run it up the middle, design runs. I mean, Cam Newton just makes stuff happen there. So, got the Saints over Carolina. Will be probably a really close, low-scoring game. Moving on to Detroit at Seattle. And I'm going upset with the Detroit Lions. These Seattle Seahawks just look dead in the water right now. And Detroit is they're just out here playing hard. So I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions on this one. Dan Campbell getting his third win with the Lions. Then we have the Arizona Cardinals at the Dallas Cowboys. And both these teams are currently in the playoffs. Cowboys are secured as winning their division. They secured that with that win over Washington. So I think the Cowboys are going to play a little bit looser. And they're not going to try to... I feel like the Cowboys really should play really hard this week and see how they really will be in the playoffs against a great team like Arizona. But I think they're going to come out, hey, we already have this thing locked up. We don't need to play so hard. Probably not going to rest anybody until Week 18, but they're just going to probably dial it back a little bit. And I think Arizona right now is like, hey, we need to get back on the winning side of football. So Arizona's going to come out, heavy run game like they usually do, throwing that thing through the air, and they are going to, I think they're going to beat the Cowboys and probably still a pretty close game. Sunday night, my Minnesota Vikings traveling to Green Bay. This is a doozy. Obviously, I want to say Minnesota because I am a fan, but to be honest, it's hard to go up to Lambeau and play. I'm going to stick with Minnesota, though, because Justin Jefferson called out Clint Kubiak in a press conference and is like, hey, we got to be more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. We got to be more aggressive in the red zone. We got to keep slinging that thing. Got to trust Cousins, and I am here for that. I don't think that us hand the ball off 3 times to Dalvin Cook, who, yes, is one of the best backs in the league, not a good strategy. Every other team in the league knows it's coming. So, if Kubiak listens to JJ, which I'm hoping he's going to, I think Minnesota can come out and secure another win. The defense is finally starting to look a little bit better, stepping up, getting healthier. So, going with Minnesota Sunday night over the Packers. Then moving on to Monday night game. Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. And I want to say Cleveland because I know Cleveland right now, they're really trying to get into that playoff spot and they're trying to make that push. But I'm going with Pittsburgh. The reports is that this is going to be Big Ben's last game as a Steeler. So I think his guys are going to come out and they're going to play as hard as they can, secure that win for Big Ben in his final game as a Steeler. At least, at the bare minimum, it will be his final home game as a Steeler. So I really think that it's going to be too noisy. Those terrible towels are going to be waving around. And I think Pittsburgh's going to end up getting the win in this one. So that's what I have for the Week 17 matchups. So let's dive on into a little bit of just Minnesota Vikings talk in general. So I do like what Zimmer is doing defensively. He's a great defensive mind coach. I do like what Spielman is doing. I mean, I think our roster is freaking amazing, and I like what Cousins is doing. I think he is a good enough quarterback to get us to the Super Bowl eventually. But I think one of them needs to go. Looking forward to next year and years previous is we've always had great teams. Our rosters are always great on paper, but we can't ever do anything. And a lot of that, I'm thinking, is coming down to Mike Zimmer. And like I said, I'm a big Zimmer supporter. Don't really want him to leave or hoping he leaves, but something needs to change. We need something to change in this organization. And the Wirfs are a very big Zimmer supporter, and they like that continuity of the same thing, but something's got to change. And right now, looking at our team and our woes, I'm thinking it's Zimmer. We can get Kubiak out of here too, hopefully. Terrible offensive coordinator, and we bring in a offensive-minded coach. And then we can get a good defensive coordinator to help on that defensive side of the ball. Keep it good. I mean, it's not good right now necessarily, but they are getting better. I mean, we are still leading the league in sacks, but a lot of that's just the personnel we have. Like, we have great personnel, so that's why I'm not putting really anything on Spielman. I think what he's been able to do in the drafts, yeah, a lot of times it's, hey, we're going to drop back and we're going to get more guys, but the guys we're dropping back and getting, hey, they've been balling for us. So I've really been trusting Spielman a lot lately with what he's been able to do with our roster. Do we do a lot of offseason acquisitions? I mean, more than the Packers, which everyone does more than the Packers. But are we out here like the Rams just trying to acquire everyone in the offseason? No. You know, I mean, we're in the middle of the road. We get the guys that we feel like can help us. So that's kind of my thoughts about where we're looking at for this offseason. Because the playoffs are starting to look a bit out of reach with the way that Philly and San Francisco are playing right now. I think it's going to be real difficult for Minnesota to get in. And if they're going to, they're going to have to beat the Packers tonight. Well, on Sunday, and they're going to have to beat Chicago Bears in Week 18. So that's all I got for you. If you liked the video, drop a like, leave a comment, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Peace.